Okay, hello everyone. So I appreciate that you are here at that late time. My name is Selot Stakhov, and I'm the author of Rspamd open source spam filtering system, and also I'm FreeBSD developer for more than 10 years. In this talk, I will talk about one particular integration of Rspamd, and actually it's about integration of Rspamd in FreeBSD email. This talk won't be about performance of Rspamd because this release doesn't process more than 1 million of messages per day, and I consider this volume as very low, so I don't care about performance at all. So the tasks were how to build spam filtering, because nobody likes spam, and especially nobody likes spam in mailing lists, and because mailing lists are the main source of information, and you hate to archives like spam messages and so on and so forth. So that's quite important task, and here are some explanation about what was difficult. So let's start about this talk about talking about the architecture of FreeBSD mail. So there are a couple of MXs, and I'll draw some sort of flows of mail here. So we have free fall, where all developer accounts live, and there are also aliases. So email comes to MX1, and it integrates with free fall to operate with local email. Then we have mailman, which operates via MX1, and MX2 is used for outbound spam. For outbound. Yes. Spam as well. Then MX1 operates with MX2. MX2 can send back delivery state notifications via MX1. FreeFall can send email via MX2. Mailman can send emails to FreeFall for local users. And that was my opinion about all the system. So luckily we had some sort of help of the postmasters, in particular from Remco Lodger and Kirill Ponomarev, and they actually built Rspamd in these complicated mail flows. I did just small adjustments actually. So the main problems of the email architecture is that we have very complicated mail flows. So there are many relays, many aliases, so lots of users prefer to use something like Gmail instead of using of local clients, and actually it complicates situation. And also email has very non-trivial circuits. So in some cases I could see like 16 received headers for a single message because it constantly ping-pong between different relays. And there are lots of legacy decisions because FreeBSD mail is almost as old as FreeBSD, so lots of decisions are from 90s when we had something like UTP. So the decision to filter spam and some other stuff was to add Rspamd because I'm FreeBSD developer and I'm the author of Rspamd, and I suggested postmasters to try this project because it's free and open source, and to resolve our issues. So that's something about Rspamd. So it has web interface. That's not FreeBSD relay. That's just my random relay. And internally, it's represented as a complicated system of different layers. It integrates with MTA using Milte in our case. So we use postfix, and hence we use Milte. In our situation, we don't use separate proxy layer. We combine proxy and scan layer, so it operates in self-scan mode. And internally, it uses different things, and actually all of them, with the exception of bias, are used for now. So we use even neural networks. I'll talk about it a bit later because it's a bit tricky topic. So what problems we've tried to resolve with Rspamd? So the first one is actually spam in the mailing list. We don't like spam. Nobody likes spam. Another problem, which was also quite important, was that we break DKIM signatures when they pass over mailman. And we wanted to do some sort of controlling of our mail flows because we had completely no understanding about how mail goes and how to make it better. Well, not this one. My personal motivation was mainly to reduce amount of spam in my mail client. And actually that's some of samples of messages that I've constantly received from FreeBSD mailing lists. And what's more important, I couldn't filter them because my profile of Rspamd, my own Rspamd local, was so that actually mails from FreeBSD lists are usually trusted. So the vast majority of emails from FreeBSD lists are actually ham, and they have very low score, low negative score. And also FreeBSD relays are listed in some of DNS whitelists. So basically it's impossible to use any RBLs and other stuff because they're hidden beyond the FreeBSD relay. That's why I constantly asked about let's install Rspamd and try to do something better, because my filter can filter these emails and your filter cannot. So now I still receive some spam from FreeBSD lists because actually we are currently quite cautious about rejecting email. But what you can see that there is special symbol called spam flag. It means that the relay on FreeBSD marked this message as junk, and actually Rspamd can recognize this and treat this email separately. So this email was in my junk folder, luckily. And actually that's quite good. So in future we plan to reduce reject score and to increase probably junk score to filter more emails. Because currently that's the profile of our today's statistics. So the vast majority of emails are ham. But actually this statistics is a bit skewed, because basically on mailing lists, on each email that comes to mailing list, we have like 200, 1,000 of emails that are coming out. And actually because of this complicated schema, we see these messages many times. And since we send these emails to all our subscribers, we actually have situation when we like multiply one ham message and send it many times. Obviously, if message has been rejected, we don't send it to subscribers. And that's why this profile is a bit difficult to understand, because basically it's not true that the vast majority of emails are spam, are ham, because we have lots of spam, but due to this multiplication effect from mailing lists, we don't see this in this stat. Another problem of this statistics is actually using of neural networks, because for neural networks they assume that your traffic is somehow balanced. So it learns the model using half of samples spam and half of samples of ham. And in this situation, neural network is also not very useful. So this is also quite complicated topic. So the plans for future are to improve neural network in the way to reduce number of the same training vectors, because currently it just pushes everything. So if a message has high enough negative score, it just tells that let's learn neural network from it. Actually that's not quite a good decision, especially for this profile of traffic. So we have improved the situation with spam, but there are obviously areas to improve it better. I'll talk about it a bit later. Another problem that we resolved with Rspamd is actually to sign messages. Because in many cases we have the following situation. We have something like Gmail or other sender, and this sender signs their messages using their private key. Mailing lists are usually modifying messages, so they're adding some sort of disclaimers, or that this message has been delivered by some mailing list, blah blah blah, and that actually breaks the key signatures. What's worse is actually that Gmail in particular rewrites signs sender, and sender is the special email header that is always rewritten by mailman, and actually all messages from Gmail have broken the key signatures, and this situation is not very good, because many users don't like when they receive messages that are from some sort of untrusted sources, because you don't see anything good from that. So the trivial solution is actually to add another DKIM signature. And actually Rspamd is used for this as well. Obviously there are some other solutions like OpenDKIM, but in our case we have Rspamd, so why not use it for DKIM signature, DKIM signing. And in this case, all emails that come from FreeBSD are digitally signed by FreeBSD relay. It makes some users happy. Actually, there is one thing here. So currently we sign all emails. Even if we decide that this email is junk, we still sign it. I think that should be fixed at some point to not sign messages that are not trusted and that are considered as spam, because it doesn't make any sense to sign spam. Another technique is actually to use ARC. So unlike DKIM, ARC provides the way how to organize chains of trust in emails. So in a nutshell, it looks like that each relay adds special header. Actually, there are 3 headers. And each relay increases special counter. So basically, unlike the DKIM signature, you don't know when this relay has added this signature. You can obviously match something like received headers, but usually the received headers are not signed by DKIM for obvious reasons, because they are, well, they can be added in any order. For ARC, there are some senders that are using ARC, in particular Gmail, then Yahoo, and as far as I remember, Microsoft in Office 365. And what's more important, that all these providers who are using ARC, they also recognize ARC. So basically, if you have this DKIM signature broken, a message still can be verified, because there is some trusted relay, for instance FreeBSD relay, that tells that this email was successful before I modified it. So the idea here is that you can have a message and you can modify it because you are like trusted relay, and you can tell another relays that the initial message had like valid signature. And another relays, if they trust you, obviously they can tell that, okay, I trust FreeBSD, and I know that FreeBSD won't lie about the initial signature, and I can improve our sending experience by adding this signature. So that's how it works. That is email that has been passed from my domain to FreeBSD list, and then it was received by Gmail. So Gmail actually signed it one more time. And in this case, you see that the I equal 2 means that there is the third relay on the way. And also there are authentication results. So you can see that the body hash from the originator is not verified because it was broken by a mailman, but the ARC verification and DKIM verification afterwards was successful. And actually it helps to interoperate with email services providers, and it helps to improve delivery basically. So what are issues with signing? The main problem again is that we can see messages many times. So in some cases we can see a single message on MX1 like 3 or 4 times. Yes. And accordingly we need to enable and disable signing and checks because we have seen this message. And that's not done actually, that we should not sign spam. So if we decide that this message is spam, we should stop this signing process and proceed it without signatures because, well, it's stupid. So that's how it's resolved in Rspamd. So there is a small snippet. So all configuration is stored in local D folder, so we don't modify any vanilla configurations. That's the recommended way how to configure Rspamd, because all the time when I have bug reports, in many cases, users are just modifying vanilla config and don't know how to deal with the upgrade. And that's the way how it should be done. So here we just define some rules and enable and disable some symbols according to their path when we see this message. So for instance, we don't add multiple DKIM signatures. That's quite important, because otherwise, if we see this message multiple times, if we add multiple signatures from the same domain, one of these signatures won't be valid. That's the idea. That's not true for ARC, by the way. Yes?
Invalid DKIM signature and missing signature is exactly the same.
That's not missing the DKIM signature. I mean,
but I say if it's invalidated or if it's missing, if it's not inserted, it makes no difference.
Yes, I know, but the question here is that from the perspective of ESP, it depends. Because invalid DKIM signature means that your DMARC verification, if you have some sort of DMARC rules, can be totally failed. And if you have no DKIM signature, well, I've implemented many DMARC. I've implemented DMARC in Rspamd, and I know that, well, RFC tells treat it in this way. But actually, sometimes it shouldn't be treated in this way. Because basically, if you receive message with broken DKIM signature or without DKIM signature from PayPal, oh yeah, you're right. So I'm just telling the same thing in other words. Sorry. But in this case, it just ensures that you don't have two signatures, because one of that signatures will be valid and another will be not valid. ARC works in this situation, but DKIM doesn't. So now some words about what we want to do actually, because, well, currently we have working prototype, but there are still ways how to improve it. So first of all, we have a big pain point now. So there is a special script on Freefall that sends email for developers. And unfortunately, this script adds this disclaimer just after body of message. And as far as you see, it's my message. In my message, you cannot do it, because in my message, you need to insert the signature inside of MIME parts. And actually, if you have multi-part alternative parts, you need to insert the signature into both text and HTML. And that's actually not easy, because there are many situations when you need to insert the signature in the right place. And that's why I've decided that it could be a good task for Rspamd, because I can modify Rspamd. So that's again some work in progress project that can modify message, and it knows about multi-part messages. It can insert signatures for text, for HTML parts. It knows how to deal with DSNs. It knows how to deal with 7-bit encoding. It knows how to deal with quoted printable, UTF, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty much sophisticated. It also can rewrite subject, because in some cases you need to do this. So literally it can do things that are typically done in Mailman. But this list is special. It's not done in Mailman. So that's what we want to do. And also we think about including here DKIM signatures as well. So every mailing list should be signed. So this part is also missing now. So we don't use Bayesian statistics. And that's actually bad, because basically it's good to have personal bias for our users. We have lots of developers who are good enough and who are eager to train their spam filter and who can do their spam filtering better. Unfortunately, it won't work for everybody, because all people have different preferences. And the generic idea is actually quite simple. So we plan to add like generic bias that will be used for everybody with some sort of generic training corpuses. And on top of it, there should be some sort of personalized statistics. It can be implemented in Rspamd, so it stores everything in Redis, and it can actually check first of all one thing and then another, and adjust things according to users' preferences. So that's one of the biggest plan that we have. Also, we want to present better statistics, because this one is from my spam trap, it's not from FreeBSD. But we want to have something similar for FreeBSD to view how many messages we receive, to view how many things we are sending, to view popularity of mailing lists, and so on and so forth. So this is done via a project called ClickHouse, and this is bought from it called Redash. So basically, it also works almost out of the box. The only specific for BSD is actually that this system is more Linux oriented, so probably it will require some sort of manual modifications. It is written in Go, but I suppose it should work. ClickHouse itself has been ported to FreeBSD, so if you want column-oriented database with lots of analytical features and very high performance in terms of storage, you can check ClickHouse. It's ported to FreeBSD. Also, you can do some sort of analytics. So it's SQL-like. So actually that's all. It was a very short talk about how we integrate Rspamd in FreeBSD. My goal was not to describe lots of things about Rspamd, because I can talk about this for a very long time. And in this particular presentation, I wanted to explain this practical implementation. So if you have any questions, please ask. Yep.
For aliases, what's the plan to train the personal spam filter on the server?
So we can just use these aliases as map in Rspamd.
As what?
As map. So it's possible to read it as hash, and then, well, like.
Let's say one who has alias receives an email. How can he, on his email provider, not on the BSD server where the alias is managed? The question is how to communicate to the BSD aliasing server that the user marked the message as spam.
So we can just add additional aliases for learning. That's how it's done. So basically you can just tell something like learn spam with some specific key that is available for developers, and we will just accept this message and learn as spam for him, for him. Yes.
For junk mail, where the idea is not to sign it, why isn't it rejected at SMTP level?
Because
so that
yeah.
Even if there is a false positive, the sender is immediately informed that something doesn't work.
That's a complicated question, because basically we have false positives. All spam filtering system has false positives, and if you reject that, you won't see it. And in many cases, unfortunately, there are too many broken senders who won't react to DSNs, and that's actually real life. And the idea is actually to sign it and to leave it on users' consideration. Probably we do some sort of statistical mistake, so we can relearn this message as ham, and we are done. If we reject it, we cannot do anything. The only alternative to this is somehow quarantine this. But quarantining, Rspamd supports quarantining, but postfix requires additional daemon, as far as I remember, to do quarantining. So that's why we just add flag and tell our users that just use this flag to mark these messages as spam in your C rules. That's all.
But this has the disadvantage that when emails are spam mails are forwarded over mailing lists, the servers which receive emails from those mailing lists decrease the reputation of the server that maintains the mailing list. And this is avoided.
That's possible, yes. That's possible, but we plan to reduce reject score, but we don't plan to reduce it like to gray level. So there will be definitely some sort of gray zone. Obviously, we are trying to reduce this gray zone as well, but currently we have too high reject rate threshold. If we reduce reject threshold, this problem should be resolved, because nobody would reduce reputation for gray mail. Yes.
Actually, I would add that Gmail is explicitly permitting forwarding spam to them as long as it has a header marking it as spam. So it's not a problem for Gmail.
Ah, that's great.
Just more data for them. A question about the signatures you showed before. You said that you are writing something to actually add the signature in the proper MIME path.
Yes.
Correct. Does it deal with encoding mismatches between the string you actually putting in and the encoding of the MIME path?
So what it does? So internally in Rspamd, this text is decoded. So this code is operating with decoded parts. And actually for text parts, it's recommended to use quoted printable in any case. So that's general recommendation. And Rspamd just encodes in quoted printable, forgetting about the original encoding. Why I do so? Because first of all, if we have 8-bit encoding, it doesn't make any sense because many relays doesn't support 8-bit encoding by default, so they don't announce it. And what should we do actually with 8-bit encoding, sending it via these relays? So 8-bit is not an option. Base 64 is done by some, well, I would have said broken ESPs, but actually many people are sending text in base 64. But actually it adds lots of overhead. So the only sane solution from my point of view is just to encode everything in quoted printable. And furthermore, it encodes everything in UTF-8. So if the original encoding was like something like COI8-R, it should recode at UTF-8. That's a limitation, but unfortunately I don't have to support all these zoo of encodings because some of encodings are absolutely brain damaged, to tell the truth.
If you have, for instance, the MIME path encoding in Chinese encoding, for instance, GP5 or something like that.
Yes, it will recode at UTF-8.
When you try to plug in, for instance, a phrase in Russian with a completely different encoding, there is a mismatch.
But it works for UTF-8. So that's the point here. Actually, in GB something and Shift Gs, you can encode Cyrillic letters as well, so they're full Unicode compatible. But again, that's what I'm talking about, brain damage encoding. Right, Daniela? Yep.
I have many questions. What's the problem with breaking DKIM signatures? An example of Gmail, it operates under two domains, Google.com and Gmail.com. The first one has DMARC policy of quarantine, and the second has policy of known. If you break a signature with policy of known, there are no implications. And
Yes.
adding another DKIM signature for your domain, which does not compensate for breaking the other signature.
Well, it depends, but the only solution for this problem, for this particular problem, is actually ARC. I don't see any resolution about how to fix broken DMARC when you have to do it because of like standards. For instance, you need to write this GDPR node. I think everybody knows about that, but you have to do it, and you have to break.
From address.
Change a sender. Oh, change from, yes. That's another option, but sender rewriting is actually something that also quite difficult to implement properly.
I'm not talking about SRS, but
From.
rewriting the from, yes.
Doable, but
And
Does your remain 8 seconds?
yes.
Thank you very much.